Natasha Sterling stood motionless before the full-length mirror in her dressing room, watching a stranger stare back at her. At 29 years old, her honey-blonde hair was twisted into a tight bun that pulled at her scalp. Her hazel eyes, once bright with dreams and laughter, now carried shadows that no amount of expensive concealer could hide. The beige dress she wore hung loosely on her frame, deliberately chosen to fade into the background of another corporate event, where she would stand silently beside her husband like an accessory. 3 years of fading away. Reflection showed more than just a woman preparing for an evening out. It revealed 3 years of slowly disappearing, making herself smaller to fit into Jonathan Pierce's world of steel and glass towers. She remembered the girl who had walked into that tech conference with confidence, whose laugh had made the brilliant CEO turn his head. That girl had believed in fairy tales and happily ever after. The woman in the mirror knew better now. The sound of expensive, indifference-heavy footsteps echoed through their penthouse apartment, each step a reminder of the distance between them. Jonathan was home early, though Natasha no longer felt the flutter of excitement that once accompanied his arrival. Now it was simply another appointment on his calendar, another obligation to fulfill before returning to the only thing he truly loved, his empire. The inspection Natasha's voice came from the bedroom, soft and practiced in the art of not disturbing his concentration. Jonathan appeared in the doorway, all 6 feet 3 inches of controlled ambition wrapped in an Italian suit that cost more than most people earned in a month. His dark eyes swept over her with the same attention he gave to reviewing contracts. Quick and efficient, words that cut deeper than knives acceptable, he said, his tone flat and businesslike. The investors prefer understated elegance. You fit the requirement perfectly. Not beautiful, not stunning, not even pretty, just acceptable. A requirement to be met. Natasha felt something crack inside her chest, a sound only she could hear. She turned back to the mirror, applying a colorless lip gloss that matched the rest of her invisible existence. The question. "When did I stop being your wife and become just another business asset?" she asked quietly, surprising herself with the courage to speak the words that had been building for months. His fingers paused over his phone screen for exactly 2 seconds before resuming their dance across the glass. "You are my wife, Natasha. This is what marriage looks like after the honeymoon phase ends. Adults understand this." The memory of better days, she thought of their wedding day, of Jonathan's hands trembling slightly as he lifted her veil. "You are the most extraordinary woman I have ever known," he had whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I will spend every day proving myself worthy of you." 3 years later, could barely remember to say good morning. The business call that said everything. Jonathan's phone rang, and he answered without hesitation, turning away from her mid-conversation. "Yes, Victoria. I am reviewing the Henderson proposal now." "No, nothing is more important than closing this deal. Nothing." He walked out of the room, his voice fading down the hallway, leaving Natasha alone with the ghost of who they used to be. The hidden treasure Natasha opened her closet and pushed past the row of approved outfits, her fingers finding the garment bag hidden at the very back. Inside was an emerald green dress that hugged every curve, with a neckline that was elegant but undeniably bold. She had bought it 6 months ago, during a moment of rebellion, then hidden it away like a secret dream she was too afraid to pursue. The voice of wisdom, her grandmother's voice, echoed in her memory, words spoken during their last phone call. "Baby girl, a man who makes you feel invisible is telling you exactly how he sees your worth. The question is, do you believe him, or do you believe in yourself?" Grace Sterling had always possessed the kind of wisdom that cut through confusion. Like a lighthouse beam through fog, the decision Natasha pulled the emerald dress from its hiding place and laid it across the bed. The fabric shimmered under the bedroom lights, alive and vibrant in a way she had forgotten she could be. Her hands shook slightly as she reached for the zipper of her beige dress. Fear whispered all the familiar warnings about standing out, about Jonathan's disapproval, about being too much. The transformation begins. She slipped into the emerald dress and felt the fabric settle against her skin like a second heartbeat. The woman in the mirror was no longer invisible. She unclipped her hair, letting honey blonde waves cascade over her shoulders in soft curls. She traded colorless gloss for deep rose lipstick that made her smile look dangerous and alive. The moment of power, Natasha heard the car horn outside, followed by Jonathan's approaching footsteps. "Jonathan, we need to leave in 5 minutes," his voice called out, still distracted by whatever deal consumed his attention. She turned toward the door, shoulders back, chin lifted, heart pounding with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. The shock Jonathan appeared in the doorway, phone pressed to his ear, already mid-sentence with someone about quarterly projections. Then he saw her. His phone slipped from his fingers in slow motion, hitting the marble floor with a crack that sounded like ice breaking on a frozen lake. His mouth opened, but no words emerged. His dark eyes, usually so controlled and calculating, widened with something that looked like recognition mixed with disbelief. The question. Unspoken for the first time in 3 years, Natasha saw herself reflected in her husband's eyes. Not as an accessory or a requirement, but as a woman who commanded attention simply by existing. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken questions and forgotten promises. Outside, the car horn honked again, but neither of them moved. Time had stopped, and in that moment, everything changed. Jonathan stood frozen in the doorway, his usual composed expression shattered. The phone lay forgotten on the marble floor, its screen cracked like a spiderweb. Natasha watched emotions flicker across his face faster than she could name them: shock, desire, confusion, and something that looked dangerously close to regret. She took a breath and walked toward him, her heels clicking with newfound confidence against the floor. "The broken spell, we should go," Natasha said softly, her voice steady, despite the electricity crackling between them. "The investors are waiting." She moved past him, close enough that her perfume drifted between them, scent she had not worn in months because he had once complained it was too strong. Too noticeable. Too much. Jonathan's hand reached out instinctively, his fingers barely brushing her arm before he pulled back as if burned. The journey to truth. An elevator ride down to the lobby felt like descending into another world. Jonathan kept stealing glances at her, his jaw tight, his shoulders tense in a way she had not seen since their early days, when nervousness had made him endearingly human. Thomas Chen, his assistant, waited by the car, his professional smile faltering when he saw Natasha. "Mrs. Pierce, you look absolutely stunning tonight," Thomas said with genuine warmth. The first crack in the wall, Jonathan's response, was immediate and sharp. "Thank you, Thomas. That will be all." The edge in his voice made his assistant blink in surprise before quickly opening the car door. As they settled into the leather seats, Jonathan finally spoke. "Why'd you change, Natasha?" His question hung in the air, loaded with accusations he had not quite voiced. "The answer that changed everything, because I was tired of being invisible," she replied, turning to meet his gaze directly. "Because I forgot what it felt like to be seen. Because somewhere along the way, I stopped being your wife and became just another thing you owned." Her words landed like stones in still water, creating ripples that spread between them in the enclosed space. The arrival. The Tech Innovation Gala was held at the Grand Meridian Hotel, where crystal chandeliers cast dancing light across marble floors. As their car pulled up to the red carpet entrance, camera flashes illuminated the night. Jonathan stepped out first, then offered his hand to Natasha. The moment her emerald dress caught the light, a wave of whispers rolled through the waiting crowd. The reaction, "Who is that woman?" someone murmured. "Is that Jonathan Pierce's wife?" Another voice responded with disbelief. "I have never seen her before." Natasha felt every eye turned toward her, but instead of shrinking away as she once would have, she stood taller. Jonathan's hand tightened on hers, possessive and protective in a way he had not been in years. "Stay close to me," he whispered, his voice rough with an emotion she could not quite identify, the queen of the room inside the ballroom. Natasha became the center of attention in a way that both thrilled and terrified her. Women approached with genuine smiles, complimenting her dress, her style, her presence. Men looked at her with appreciation that made Jonathan's expression darken. She found herself in conversations about technology, innovation, and business strategy, topics she had educated herself on during the lonely evenings while Jonathan worked late, The rival appears. Victoria Hammond glided toward them like a shark sensing blood in the water. Jonathan's business partner was everything Natasha had been taught to admire. Tall, sleek, perfectly controlled. Her silver dress matched her calculating eyes. "Natasha, darling," Victoria purred, her smile sharp as glass. "What a transformation. I almost did not recognize you without your usual background beige." The first defense before Natasha could respond. Jonathan stepped forward. "Victoria, I trust you have reviewed the Henderson files I sent over." His tone carried a warning that his business partner recognized, but chose to ignore. "Oh, I have been far too busy preparing for tonight's presentation," Victoria replied smoothly, her gaze never leaving Natasha. "I must say, Jonathan, your wife is full of surprises. One wonders what other hidden depths she possesses, the unexpected strengths actually." Natasha interjected, her voice calm and clear. "I was just discussing the Henderson merger with Senator Williams. He mentioned some concerns about the environmental impact clauses that might interest you, Victoria. The tech sector is moving towards sustainable practices, and companies that ignore this trend typically see a 15% drop in millennial investor confidence within the first quarter." The shockwave. Victoria's perfectly sculpted eyebrows rose slightly. "How remarkably informed you are. Perhaps you should join our Monday strategy meetings." Jonathan's expression shifted from surprise to something that looked almost like pride. "An excellent idea," he said, his hand moving to the small of Natasha's back. "My wife has always had exceptional business instincts. I have been foolish not to utilize them." The orchestra began playing, and Jonathan led Natasha to the dance floor without asking. His hand settled on her waist with a familiarity that felt both foreign and achingly familiar. As they moved together, the crowded ballroom seemed to fade away. "You have been studying my business deals," he said quietly, his dark eyes searching hers. "While you worked 16-hour days and forgot I existed?" "Yes," Natasha replied. "Someone had to fill the empty hours." "The confession begins, Natasha." "I did not realize that he started," but she cut him off with a slight shake of her head. "Do not apologize yet, Jonathan. Apologies are easy. Change is hard. I need to know if you even want to change, or if tonight is just about reclaiming something you thought you owned." His grip on her waist tightened, and she saw pain flash across his features. "The moment of truth, I had been a fool," Jonathan whispered, his forehead almost touching hers. "I built an empire and lost the only thing that ever truly mattered. I forgot how to see you, Natasha. I forgot how to see us." The music swelled around them, but Natasha felt her heart hammering against her ribs. "Words are beautiful, Jonathan. I have lived on empty words for 3 years." The interruption. Thomas Chen appeared at the edge of the dance floor. His expression urgent. "Mr. Pierce, I am sorry to interrupt, but the Henderson deal just collapsed. Mr. Henderson is threatening to walk unless we address his concerns immediately. He is in the library waiting for you now." Jonathan's jaw tightened, torn between the crisis and the woman in his arms. The test, this is it, Natasha thought. The moment where he chooses between his empire and his marriage. Again, she stepped back from his embrace, her expression carefully neutral. "Go handle your business, Jonathan. That is what you do best." But the look in his eyes told her something had shifted, something fundamental and irreversible. The decision point. Jonathan turned to Thomas. "Tell Mr. Henderson I will be there in 10 minutes. First, I need to finish this dance with my wife." Thomas blinked in surprise but nodded and disappeared into the crowd. Jonathan pulled Natasha close again, and she felt his heart racing against her own. 10 minutes might cost you millions," she whispered. "The promise some things are worth more than money," he replied, his voice raw with emotion. "I am about to find out if I still have a chance to prove that to you." The 10 minutes felt like an eternity and a heartbeat all at once. When the final notes of the waltz faded, Jonathan kept his hand in Natasha's, intertwining their fingers in a way he had not done since their honeymoon. "Come with me," he said simply. She raised an eyebrow. "To your business meeting?" "Jonathan, that is not appropriate." His dark eyes held hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. "I want you there. I need you there. Not as my accessory, but as my partner." The way it should have been all along. The library confrontation, Mr. Henderson sat in the hotel library, his silver hair and stern expression radiating disappointment. The 60-year-old businessman had built his fortune on integrity. His reputation for walking away from bad deals was legendary. "Jonathan," he said without preamble, "I expected better from Pierce Technologies. These environmental clauses are window dressing, nothing more. My grandchildren will inherit this planet, and I refuse to be part of destroying it for profit." The unexpected voice before Jonathan could respond. Natasha stepped forward. "Mr. Henderson, my name is Natasha Sterling Pierce. I have been following your career since I was in university studying environmental economics. Your work with the Green Future Initiative changed how corporations approach sustainability." Her voice carried confidence that surprised even her. Mr. Henderson's stern expression softened slightly. "You studied environmental economics?" "Most tech wives I meet studied fashion or art history. No offense intended." The knowledge revealed none taken. Natasha smiled. "I minored in business technology integration. I have actually been analyzing the Henderson merger for weeks now. The current environmental clauses are inadequate. You are absolutely right. But what if Pierce Technologies committed to a 5-year carbon neutrality plan with quarterly audits by an independent environmental board? We could make this merger a model for the entire tech industry." The shift in power, Jonathan stared at his wife as if seeing her for the first time in their entire marriage. Victoria Hammond, who had followed them into the library, looked like she had swallowed glass. "Natasha, darling, perhaps you should let the professionals handle this," Victoria said with forced sweetness. "After all, you do not understand the financial implications of such radical commitments. The moment of truth, actually." Natasha turned to face Victoria directly. "I understand them perfectly. A 5-year carbon neutrality commitment would cost approximately $42 million up front. However, studies show that environmentally conscious companies see an average of 38% increase in Millennial and Gen Z. Investment within 3 years, the long-term profits far exceed the initial investment. Plus, we secure Henderson's distribution network, which Victoria, you estimated was worth $200 million in your own proposal last month." The revelation, Victoria's face went pale. "How did you access that information?" "That proposal was confidential. I read it on Jonathan's laptop 3 weeks ago when he left it open on the dining room table," Natasha replied calmly. "The same night, he forgot to come home for dinner. Again, I have been reading every proposal, every contract, every strategy document for months. Someone had to pay attention while you two were too busy competing for dominance. The hidden agenda exposed, Mr.?" Henderson leaned forward, his interest clearly piqued. "Competing for dominance? What does she mean, Jonathan?" Victoria's silver dress seemed to lose its luster as Jonathan's expression hardened. He turned to his business partner with dawning realization. "The Henderson deal was never going to fail, was it, Victoria? You orchestrated this entire crisis to make yourself look indispensable, to position yourself as the only one who could save the merger." The confession forced Victoria's mask of professionalism cracked. "You have been distracted for months, Jonathan. Someone had to keep the company running while you wallowed in your domestic disappointments. I have given everything to Pierce Technologies. Everything. Far more than she ever has." She pointed at Natasha with barely concealed venom. "And frankly, I deserve more recognition for my contributions." "The line drawn, Mr. Henderson stood abruptly. "I have heard enough. Jonathan, your personal drama does not interest me, but your wife's proposal does. Give me the 5-year carbon neutrality commitment in writing with the independent audits, and you have your deal. As for you," he turned to Victoria, "manipulation and corporate sabotage are not qualities I admire in business partners. I suggest you reconsider your approach." He nodded to Natasha with respect and left the library. The reckoning, the door closed behind Mr. Henderson, leaving Jonathan, Natasha, and Victoria in heavy silence. "Victoria," Jonathan's voice was cold as winter steel, "you are removed from the Henderson merger, effective immediately. We will discuss the future of your partnership tomorrow morning. Right now, I need you to leave." Victoria's composure shattered. "You are choosing her over the company." Over everything we built together? The choice made clear no, Jonathan said quietly, moving to stand beside Natasha. I am choosing integrity over manipulation. I am choosing partnership over competition. And yes, I am choosing my wife over someone who has been trying to sabotage my marriage while pretending to be an ally. Victoria left without another word, her silver dress disappearing through the doorway like smoke, the honest conversation alone in the library. Jonathan turned to Natasha with tears threatening at the corners of his eyes. How long have you known? About Victoria trying to drive us apart? Natasha asked softly. About 6 months. About you slowly checking out of our marriage? 3 years. Why did you not say anything? He reached for her hands, and this time she let him take them. The heart of pain because I was afraid, Natasha admitted, her voice breaking. Afraid that if I pointed out how absent you would become, you would realize you did not want to be married anymore. Afraid that my love was not enough to compete with your ambition. Afraid that I had become exactly what Victoria kept telling you I was. A burden, a distraction. A pretty face with nothing substantial to offer. The truth unleashed Jonathan, pulled her close, his voice rough with emotion. You were never a burden, never a distraction. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I was so terrified of failing you that I threw myself into work. I thought, if I could build something magnificent enough, if I could become successful enough, I would finally deserve you. Instead, I lost you while trying to prove my worth. The ultimatum Nacha pulled back to look into his eyes. I need you to understand something, Jonathan. I am not the same woman who disappeared into beige dresses in silence. I will never be invisible again. If we are going to fix this marriage, it will not be me shrinking to fit your world. It will be us building a new world together. Can you handle being married to a woman who has opinions, who takes up space, who refuses to be convenient? The answer that mattered, Jonathan's answer, came not in words but in action. He kissed her with the passion of their first date, the promise of their wedding day, with the desperation of a man who nearly lost everything. When they finally broke apart, he whispered against her lips, I do not want convenient. I want real. I want you, exactly as you are right now. Fierce, brilliant, and absolutely breathtaking. The new beginning, they left the library hand in hand, returning to the gala where curious eyes followed their every move. But Natasha no longer cared about being watched. She danced with her husband, laughed with genuine joy, spoke with confidence about business, technology, and the future. Jonathan stayed by her side the entire night, his phone remaining untouched in his pocket. The promise of tomorrow as they drove home in the early morning hours. Jonathan broke the comfortable silence. Natasha, starting Monday, I want you as my official business consultant. Equal partnership, equal voice, equal respect. She smiled, watching the city lights blur past. Only if you promise to come home for dinner. At least 4 nights a week. Deal, he laughed, bringing her hand to his lips. And Natasha, thank you for not giving up on us. Thank you for reminding me what truly matters. The transformation complete when they returned to their penthouse. Natasha caught their reflection in the hallway mirror. The woman staring back was neither invisible nor trying to disappear. She was whole, powerful, and deeply loved. Jonathan wrapped his arms around her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. I see you, he whispered. I will never stop seeing you again. And in that moment, Natasha knew their story was just beginning. The end.